Hello, this is Mayor Mike. I'm recording out of 740 Main Street here in East Hartford. That's Town Hall. And if it's Wednesday, it must be Ask the Mayor and the answers to your questions. Today we have two questions, and then I'm also going to give you the results of the school traffic survey that we put out about a month ago. We had 290 responses, and I want to take a little bit of a deep dive into that. But first, the two questions. Question number one comes from Kathy. And by the way, this is about the 50th question since we've started this series a little more than 5 weeks ago. This one is a repeat question, but it bears asking again and answering again. Are there any shredding events scheduled? And the answer to Kathy is yes. Tentatively write down May 21st in the morning. Enviro Shred at Prestige Park is where we're going to have it. Watch for social media as we lock the date down and provide more information. But the answer is yes, we are having a shredding event. Question number two comes from Tina. What can be done about the horribly unsafe speeding that has been occurring in my neighborhood for several years now? Can speed bumps put in? Someone's going to get hurt or killed. So consistent with my responses to other people who have complained about speeding, we've sent that over to the police, and there'll be additional enforcement in Tina's neighborhood. So if you have any concerns, please reach out to us. Happy to have the police do an enhanced patrol. That's number one. Number two, for the next 3 months, we're going to have some additional officers out on the street looking at speeds and stop sign violations. We have already doubled from comparison as to this time last year the number of moving violations we have made in town. I've also received a number of feedback from business owners who see our officers pulling over people for speed or for stop sign violations, and they genuinely approve. So again, very expensive for somebody's insurance. Encourage everybody to slow down, but we are stepping up enforcement. Here's a question that I received online to social media, but not through Ask the Mayor, that I'll provide an answer to. Are we creating a dog park in East Hartford? And the answer is yes. Parks and Recreation is identifying a couple of places where we may put it. Once I get those locations, we'll be reaching out to the community to make sure no one has a problem with a dog park in the area. We're looking for someplace a little bit secluded, out of the way, so that we don't bother any of the residents if the dogs are barking and playing. So stay tuned. In 2022, we believe East Hartford will have a dog park. Now to the survey. If you recall, we had at Goodwin School a couple of taxpayers who were very concerned about the damage that was happening in and around the school, with basically chaos around the pickup and drop-off times for the Goodwin School students. And that really translated into all of the elementary schools in town, as well as the high school and the middle school. So I wanted to explain what the results of the survey were. So first off, the first question was, should we fine or basically enhance police activity or surveillance? And the answer was 76% of the 290 respondents of those who chose to answer question one said yes, there should be an enhanced police patrol or additional fining. 24% said no. They said, let the children be, they're just trying to get to school. Should we install Jersey barriers? That was a resounding no. 65% said no, 35% said yes. Should we issue reminders? This was by far and away the most popular answer. 80% said we should continue along the path of reminding the children through both the school email system and for take-home notices. So, and then that was 20% said nope. If you already reminded them, more reminders aren't going to help. And then do nothing. 4% said yes, that was acceptable. 96% said no. So what was clear is doing nothing is not an option, and installing Jersey barriers is not an option. So what we're left with is our first step is to issue additional reminders through the school system, and I will coordinate that with the superintendent. And then the second thing is have the police have additional presence at the schools. That's a little bit difficult for us. We generally have 8 patrol officers or a beat patrolman on duty, or women, at any particular time. Most days we have 2 at the middle school and sometimes 1 at the high school. So we have more schools than we have police officers in terms of the ability to police. So it's not a question of wanting to do it, it's a question of how do we do it. So a roving police officer is probably going to be what we end up with, but at the end of the day, I'll coordinate that with the police chief. I wanted to also provide some additional deep dive on some of the comments. So of the 290 that responded, some people also provided us additional written responses. I've summarized those into general categories. 55 respondents, in addition to saying we should fine the parents, also said ticket them. There were additional 20 of the 290 who said we should develop new traffic patterns, which made some sense. There were 10 people who said you need to ration with people and you need to provide them additional notices. 10 respondents wanted new signage. 10 more wanted more busing. And in a minute, I'll explain to you why busing becomes very difficult for our community. Another 7 wrote in that they would like staggered pick-up and drop-off times so that they didn't have to contend with the buses. And 5 said we needed to retrain the crosswalk guards to also manage traffic. I'm a little concerned about that because if a crosswalk individual guard is doing anything but watching the children, we may have a problem. So I'm not sure I'm in favor of that one, but I can see the logic. And then other responses, these were 1s and 2s where the respondent wrote in a comment, included, it's about the children, don't do anything. Another one said school staff needs to police it. Another one said the end of COVID will fix it, and that individual's not wrong. Another one used it to explain why their taxes were too high. And a third said add fencing, and finally 2 more said add cameras. Now, this is where we're gonna get a little silly, so bear with me. Well, before we get silly, Ben Whitaker, who is the Chief Operating Officer of the Board of Education, provided some comments that really go hand in hand with the survey. First off, to add a single bus is $70,000 a year. So let that sink in for those individuals who correctly pointed out that new buses would probably make a difference, but at a cost of $70,000 a year. If we added 1 new bus per school, we'd be over $1 million. So that's number 1. Ben also reminds me that each school site works very cooperatively. The Board of Education works very cooperatively with each principal, and each site operates in such a way as to try to limit congestion. And whenever issues come up, we reevaluate it as a group to see if there is anything that can be done. So what we have today is a series of changing traffic patterns that have been recommended by either parents, the principal, or school administration. Ben cites a good example of this as Silver Lane School, where a joint Board of Ed town work group mitigated the traffic issues on Mercer Avenue to the degree that they could. Of course, not every single site, like Goodwin, is conducive to such modifications to improve traffic flow. Ben also offered that the congestion is occurring because the students who are eligible for busing, instead of taking the bus, they're driving with their parents, which is a choice that they've made in COVID for obvious reasons. This trend exploded during COVID, has improved some, but is not back to pre-COVID levels. So that's some background. And then I will tell you, here's where we'll have a little bit of fun. I'm going to read 3 of the exact narratives that came in. And of course, these are anonymous. So this I call Angry Anonymous Taxpayer 1. With all the professionals we pay, I pay $550 a month, and you folks don't know what to do? What an embarrassment to ask the public if ticketing is an appropriate response. Jersey barriers? So, someone will crash their car and sue the town. Oh, brother. When the taxpayers of East Hartford have to be asked how to enforce parking violations, we are paying way too much for the professionals who are supposed to know what to do. They enjoy 6-figure salaries. What a slap in the face to taxpayers. $550 a month in taxes, and you folks are deer in the headlights. So to whoever wrote that, 1, we appreciate all the comments, and 2, why we reached out is there's no easy solution. We're trying to be transparent. We're trying to include as many people as we can in the solution, because this isn't about what I want. This is about what the community wants. So this survey of 290 people, while a small sample of the community, was very helpful for me in terms of the decision making. Number 2, I call this no more NAMBY-PAMBY taxpayer 1. And this is the direct quote. Having roving police on different days at different schools would be good. Having them give out lots and lots of tickets for illegal parking and damage to lawns, and especially moving violations. No more NAMBY-PAMBY, start to get tough. So that one put a smile on my face. This one is, I call, a response from Elon Musk taxpayer. The schools were all designed in an era when a vast majority of kids walked to school 40 years ago. Times have changed and the layout of the schools have not adapted. Absolutely true. That being said, we should be out in front of the problem. Very likely in 5 to 8 years, the number of autonomous vehicles will be enough in numbers that one could envision robot cars dropping off kids. Best to think long-term and develop a comprehensive solution now with a civil engineering design to accommodate current and future transportation requirements. I thought that was an excellent response. Last 2 responses. Rational taxpayer number 1. Actually, you need to find a solution first. Not having a solution and just finding families is not appropriate. If there's no solution other than to pull over for drop-off, there shouldn't be a fine. If there are safe options and a parent chooses an unsafe or property-damaging option, then go ahead and fine. But don't fine until there's an actual safe solution. So I actually liked that particular one. And then finally, a little bit longer, this is a teacher of 31 years who I called rational taxpayer number 2. As a teacher of 31 years, I can testify that there is a large enough gap between teachers and parents, between schools and parents, between towns and communities and their citizens. I can testify that parents have just been through 2 years of hell trying to raise their children in extraordinary times. Trying to solve old problems using old strategies will not work. It will only widen the gap of communication between parents and their kids who are struggling, and teachers and school systems and their communities will suffer. Punitive measures don't create lasting change. Giving fines to parents who are probably already struggling financially does nothing but make things worse. We have to allow our community to help and serve one another. If this is merely a traffic issue, let's use our awesome police department to be representing all that is good and have a presence in front of all schools during drop-off and pick-up before school and at the end of the day. We have wonderful police officers and wonderful parents, and it would be incredible and wise to use those resources to solve a simple problem with peace and harmony rather than create more distance and misunderstanding and disrespect and bad feelings. I, for one, know there are various sweet victories won when we perform right actions with the right intentions. I also believe that deep down, everyone knows what's right and wants what's right, and peace and harmony and not discord should prevail. If we provide citizens the right information and presence in the right way, good people always respond well, and a positive outcome is achieved quickly. Time to do things differently. Thank you for listening and for considering my suggestions. I wanted to read that one because it resonated with me. It's about creating a sense of community. It's about we're all in this together. So moving forward with respect to this problem, I will reach out to the superintendent and we will push through more information to each of the schools as a reminder for parents. That's first and foremost number 1. Number 2, I've also listened to the residents who've chosen to reply. I will work with the police chief and we will begin more aggressively enforcing some of the parking issues at each of the schools. We don't have enough police officers to put one at every school, but there will be a roving police officer and we will take care of this problem in time. The goal isn't to fine, the goal is to change behavior. So on behalf of the town of East Hartford, we're all in this together. Let's be a sense of community and let's solve this without getting the police involved. This is Wednesday. This is Mayor Mike from 740 Town Hall. Have a great afternoon.